Social development miss another constitutional court deadline as Minister Bathabile Dlamini is grilled in Parliament over the Sassa crisis. Meanwhile, Pravin Gordhan says only the country's highest court can legitimize a new deal with CPS. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Bathabile Dlamini.
And I'm Sandile Gangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are Sasa and Pravin Gordhan.
Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini and Sasa have missed yet another constitutional court deadline. They were meant to file affidavits to the court by 3 p.m. They were late by 11 minutes. The court had also wanted answers from Sasa and Dlamini about the social grants payment crisis and when they knew about the inability to handle the payment of grants.
Lawyers for Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini and the South African Social Security Agency raced to file their explanations for failing to meet constitutional court deadlines, but failed to do so by Tuesday's 3 p.m. deadline. The minister and her lawyers maintain they did everything they could to keep to the court's time limits, but were stymied by changes in their legal team. Sasa first told the Constitutional Court that its officials only became fully aware of the social grants crisis in October last year. But why then did the minister and Sasa, against the advice of their own lawyers, fail to tell the Constitutional Court that the agency would be unable to meet the promises it had made? The minister and the Social Security Agency appear desperate to reach a deal over the grants payment saga, as a potentially bruising hearing is scheduled for the Constitutional Court on Wednesday. Civil rights group Black Sash has asked the court to allow Sasa to reach a deal with Cash Paymaster Services, because there are no alternatives to ensure grant payments at this late stage. CPS maintains this doesn't mean it will have to pay back any of its Sasa profits.
The Constitutional Court stated that in this entire said affair, only Sasa was to blame for the contract being declared invalid. That in fact we were the innocent bystander.
Minister Dlamini and the agency are opposing the Black Sash's bid to have the court oversee any deal they conclude with CPS, but they say they have no objection to that deal being monitored by another independent third party. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
At the same time, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says it's government's duty to make sure social grants are distributed on the 1st of April, even if it means signing off on an illegal tender. Gordhan was briefing Parliament's Public Accounts Committee on his department's role in the Sasa crisis. He says his department will give the go-ahead to sign with Cash Paymaster Services only if the Constitutional Court says it's okay.
Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan is clear. Any deal between the Social Development Department and Cash Paymaster Services to distribute social grants would be illegal, but says a judicial and political solution is needed to ensure 17 million grants are paid on the 1st of April.
We will then have to sort out who's responsible, why, what happened, and so on. But our first objective needs to be on the 1st of April, that money must be paid.
MPs made sure they made their thoughts known. They're upset that CPS is expected to continue distributing grants despite there not being a signed contract, while some say political heads should roll.
The bravado that was displayed last week was totally misplaced, and it is actually a vote of no confidence on the minister. It's clearly a sign that all that she was doing has not been helpful, and her colleagues realize that the country is sitting with a crisis of her own making.
Gordhan says Treasury is waiting on word from the Constitutional Court whether or not it can sign off on the contracts, saying it's not a case of not having the money to distribute 17 million social grants, but having the legal mechanism to do so.
The money to pay the grants is there. The money to pay a service provider to deliver the grants is there. What doesn't exist is a contract.
Opposition parties have called for a parliamentary committee to be set up and investigate the Sasa debacle. Lester Kivet, Parliament.
Now, the uncertainty over how social grants will be paid out next month continues to worry millions of beneficiaries. One family says the idea of not receiving the money on time haunts them. 10 million grant beneficiaries are looking to the Department of Social Development to honor its commitment to pay out the money. If this doesn't happen, millions will go hungry.
The social grants received on behalf of many children in this area helps put food on their families' tables. But the uncertainty surrounding payments has many worried as a lot of parents are unemployed. The Majola family is one such household which depends on Sasa payments.
Ngeke ngaphenika kakhulu yazi nje ngaphelelwa ubuthonga thawe mangase lonto yenzeka ngazi mina ukuthi ngizoba yini impela ngithe kuba ngizwe ngayizwe umwami lobuhlungu angazi impela futhi mengenzeka mina ngabe la kwami licishile.
Princess Majola had quit her job in 1999 soon after the birth of her daughter who has special needs. Her husband collects plastic products and sells a bag for 30 rand. Majola's daughter uses adult nappies at night, but they've had to make an alternative plan for now. Her daughter's disability grant, as well as her 4 grandchildren's social grants, support this family.
Ngicela uNkulunkulu ngathi ayilungise lonto ngoba iphilisa inkedama eziningi ukuthi abantu bakwazi ukucosha nathi nabantwana bethu bajabule njengabo bonke ngaleli ngale grant nje nathi sizizwa singabantu.
She says without the money, they would not even have the clothes on their backs. Majola says on the 1st of April, she'll go out and collect the social grants as she usually does. She's not sure she'll be able to hold back the tears if she comes home with nothing. Zikhona Chona, Alexandra Township in Johannesburg.
Let's bring you other news now. When South Africa simply could not afford to host the 2022 Commonwealth Games. That's according to Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula. He says government wasn't willing to sign a blank cheque to cover expenses beyond the Games' allocated 8 billion rand budget.
There are 3 major reasons behind the Commonwealth Games Federation's decision to take the hosting rights away from Durban. South Africa's failure to sign a contractual agreement, not making the host city payment as required, and not succeeding in forming a local organising committee on time. But Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula says they were ready to meet all those requirements. Negotiations, however, came to a standstill when South Africa refused to underwrite financial guarantees if the Games ran over budget.
We can't say to our government it must spend money that it does not have. Most definitely, we cannot. We could do that with 2010 Soccer World Cup. Sepp Blatter hovering over us with a helicopter and say we need extra stadium. We built it, but we are not in 2010. This is 2017. We are much wiser.
The South African Sports Confederation and Olympic Committee SASCOC spent 118 million rand on the bid, money which cannot be recouped.
The investment that we're going to generate out of this to smaller federations in preparation for Team South Africa, they were going to be enormous. We have lost in that context a spot in this opportunity to showcase and even support smaller federations in the long term.
Durban's hopes of becoming the first African country to host the Commonwealth Games may be up in flames, but there are plans to bring other major events to our shores. World Rugby delegates are already in the country to assess South Africa's bid to host the 2023 World Cup, an event Minister Mbalula is fully behind. Myron Naika, Durban.
A group of former prisoners are helping fight crime at one of Johannesburg's most dangerous roads. Now reformed and ready to be accepted into society, these men are keeping the area safe.
It's peak hour traffic on Joe Slovo Drive in Hillbrow, Johannesburg. And Sipho Nxumalo is on the lookout for smash and grabbers. Nxumalo is a reformed convict. He used to be the one committing crime. But now he's helping to combat criminal activity on this notorious dangerous stretch of road. He's a member of a group of former convicts now keeping the city's streets safe.
Sathile sasaphuma senziwa le project sikuba namanje sesizamile ukwehlisa isinga emphakathini ezweni lakithi ngoba kunobulili kakhulu lobugebengu bamba abantu amafoni bamba abantu imoto sisame ukuphephisa bonke laba bantu.
Members of Urban Watch carry shamboks as they go about their patrols, but they say they don't take the law into their own hands.
Ever since we started doing this work, we don't approach it in a vigilantism because we involve the cops. Once we arrest a guy, we've had about 3 arrests, and all those arrests have been reported to Hillbrook Police Station.
The Urban Watch even has the support of property owners in the area.
We were averaging here at Abel and Joe Slovo 7 smash and grabs a week, and since the 1st of December we've reduced that number to 2 incidents on the entire Joe Slovo in just over 100 days. So the results speak for themselves.
The ex-convicts have chosen a different path. They are not only combating crime, but also finding their place in society. Malungi Lupui, Johannesburg.
In news from beyond our borders, about 50 children have died from malnutrition in a hospital in the Somali capital of Mogadishu over the past 2 months. Thousands more are being treated there. The hospital says many patients drink contaminated water because of the persistent drought. Humanitarian groups are urging the international community to provide aid to the East African country. A blizzard continues to pound parts of the U.S. Thousands of flights have been cancelled and some schools have been forced to close. Above-ground subway and bus services remain suspended. Officials are asking residents to stay indoors as winter storm Stella continues to blow at over 100 kilometers per hour. And finally, Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May has welcomed Parliament's approval of a bill to trigger the process of leaving the European Union. Queen Elizabeth is expected to symbolically approve the legislation. May says it will be a defining moment for Britain as they begin to forge a new relationship with Europe. Parliament debated the issue of farmer tax in the National Assembly this afternoon. Freedom Front Plus MP Peter Groenewald says there was a sharp increase in crimes in February and that police are failing in their rural safety plan. Police Commissioner Khomotso Phahlane told Parliament that they have made a dent in cases of farm murders. In 2015-2016, there were about 457 incidents of crime, but in the 2016-2017 financial year, there were only 307 incidents. And the National Assembly has granted Umamuwini Madikizela Mandela leave of absence from Parliament due to ill health. The 80-year-old former First Lady was admitted to the Mill Park Hospital last week. The family says Madikizela Mandela went for a routine checkup, but doctors decided to admit her for observation. The exact nature of her illness is still unclear. Madikizela Mandela has now been booked off until June. A gentle reminder, if you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you tonight, you can of course find us on Twitter and Facebook, that's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website, that's enca.com/direct. Your business news and your weather details after this. The country's manufacturing sector is still struggling. New data by Stats SA shows that it recorded marginal growth of 0.8% in January. This is below the projections of just over 1%. The recorded growth was boosted by iron, steel and machinery, while petroleum, chemical products, rubber and plastic products are the reasons for the slow increase. Manufacturing is one of the country's largest economic contributors. Let's see how the markets closed today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre. Here's Joel Guy.
Welcome to the Weather Center. Throughout Tuesday, we had high-level clouds streaming across the western parts of the Northern Cape and much of the Western Cape. But further east, we saw isolated thundershowers popping up, particularly over the Eastern Cape, parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Highveld areas. Now, in the Atlantic Ocean, we're looking at a fairly organized cold front, which is quickly racing towards the southwest coastline, where it should arrive by Wednesday mid-morning. Now, talking of Wednesday, the cold front we saw earlier is going to introduce a bit of rain in the morning along the southwest coastline, spreading into the south coast as the day progresses. In the meantime, isolated to scattered thundershowers are forecast for the eastern half of the country, including much of the Eastern Cape. It's going to be mostly sunny for the western interior. Now, KwaZulu-Natal is also going to see isolated thundershowers on Wednesday, with temperatures lying in the upper 20s and lower 30s for much of the province. Passing showers are also forecast for the northeastern parts of the Eastern Cape. Light rain for parts of the coastal areas and the adjacent interior. Partly cloudy skies for Port Elizabeth with a high of 24 degrees. It's going to be cloudy with light rain and mild temperatures for the south coast of the Western Cape. A bit of rain in the morning for the southwest coastline of the province. Cape Town warming to around 22 degrees. A dry day is forecast across much of the Northern Cape, but passing showers cannot be ruled out around Kimberley, where a high of 31 is expected. Isolated thundershowers are expected to continue for much of the Free State, Bloemfontein staying at the 30-degree mark. There is still a small chance of thundershowers across the northwest on Wednesday, and highs are expected to lie in the lower 30s across the province. Isolated thundershowers are also forecast across much of Limpopo, but Messina is going to be sunny and sizzling hot with a high of 35 degrees. We stay with thundershowers across the Mpumalanga province, a hot 33 for the high in Mbombela. Gauteng should also see isolated thundershowers on Wednesday. Pretoria warming to around 30 degrees. On Thursday, it's going to be mostly sunny and warm to hot for the western areas. Thunderstorms over the northeast and a bit of drizzle for Durban and Richards Bay. Then on Friday, it's going to be pretty quiet for much of South Africa. A few showers across Limpopo.
Thank you, Joel. After the break, a Cape Town skateboarder braves a dangerous 6x1 meter bridge to show off his skills. Welcome back. A Cape Town man has found a unique use for one of the city's abandoned bridges.
Yep, champion pro skater Jean-Marc Johannes has turned it into his very own skating ramp to show off his winning moves.
From skating in the streets of Athlone to gracing world arenas, even clinching gold for South Africa in the 2016 Feist World Series in China. Jean-Marc Johannes is known for thinking up new and crazy tricks.
And if that is not enough, he's now attempting one of the biggest stunts of his career.
The 6x1 meter bridge is considered to be completely unsafe for skating, but the 26-year-old is defying the odds by catapulting himself off this constructed ramp with a technical trick onto the narrow platform.
Creating something of this scale is something I've always wanted to do. It got to a point where I've sat down with a pen and paper because I actually couldn't picture it in my mind how I was going to get on top of the bridge, number one, how I was going to get off.
With a slick and safe run along the way, the daredevil ends off with this landing. Something which is considered to be quite difficult, given that the landing pad is not visible from the top of the bridge.
Jean-Marc, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Did it.
Thank you.
Tell me, what was it like and how does this make it the biggest stunt of your career?
You know, Tanya, I've done a lot of things in my career, and this is by far the most technically challenging obstacle I've ever faced. I've walked across here once and it's less than a meter wide, so there's no room for error.
So why risk your life for crazy ollies, flips and drop-ins?
The way you picture yourself in your mind and something that you want to do, go and do it.
Absolutely.
Because you might not get a second chance.
And that's exactly how he's living his life. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
Brave man that. A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. Social development miss another constitutional court deadline as Minister Bathabile Dlamini is grilled in Parliament over the Sasa crisis. Meanwhile, Pravin Gordhan says only the country's highest court can legitimize a new deal with CPS.
And in your sports news, we also heard from Sassa CEO Tubby Reddy in the aftermath of Durban losing the right to host the 2022 Commonwealth Games.
And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Yeah, but we'll be back on your screen, same time tomorrow.